I think all of you are aware by now that I spend a great deal of time reading and studying the lessons of Buddhism, and that I've a profound respect for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. The more I read of his writings, the more I am impressed by his wisdom and his humility. But the Dalai Lama is human, and even he, in my opinion, drops a ball every once in a while. I read a comment of his recently that I disagreed with so strongly that I found it hard to believe the Dalai Lama said it. Let me read it to you. Nature's law dictates that in order to survive, bees must work together. As a result, they instinctively possess a sense of social responsibility. They have no constitution, no law, no police, no religion or moral training, but because of their nature, they labor faithfully together. Occasionally they may fight, but in general, based on cooperation, the whole colony survives. We human beings have a constitution, laws, and a police force. We have religion, remarkable intelligence, and a heart with a great capacity for love. We have many extraordinary qualities, but in actual practice, I think we are lagging behind those small insects. In some respects, I think we are poorer than the bees. That's the end of the Dalai Lama's quote. Let's take a realistic look at bees. And I can do that now that I'm raising the little creatures. God created them millions of years ago, and they're exactly the same now as they were then. Stupid. They're nicely programmed, but they're stupid. Bees gather pollen, build combs, make honey, eat, and reproduce. A singular bee, or even a pair of bees, can't do that. It requires a whole colony. The only instinct, drive, or motivation the bee possesses is survival, and he does what he needs to do to ensure that survival, and not one thing more. The bee doesn't need laws or police or religion because he isn't smart enough to deviate from doing what he has done for millions of years. He's socially responsible because he will die if he isn't. Bees don't gather pollen with the thought that it would be a real nice thing to do for the other bees back home, and they don't make honey because the lady down the road likes to sweeten her tea with it. Just like a computer, the bee is useful and necessary, but mindless, totally devoid of emotion and incapable of change without being reprogrammed by its creator. In one of my recent sermons, I posed some questions about what God expects from us. I will never have all the answers to those questions, but I think I can safely say what God does not want is for us to be like bees. A human baby is much like a bee at birth, depending on the goodwill of others and reacting instinctively to his own survival needs. But the baby differs from the bee because he has the potential for intellect, a unique personality, and talents that are waiting to be developed. In just a few short months, he begins to learn what reactions to expect from his behavior, and in little more than a year, the baby begins to learn that he can choose how he wishes to react to certain situations. That's more than bees have accomplished collectively in 1,000,000 years. We humans are different from bees because God gave us the intellect to see choices, the free will to decide what we do and don't want to do. And he gave us the ability to love. We need laws and police because of the freedom of choice God gave us, and because we are so diverse and multidimensional, not because we are socially inferior to bees. When I was in college, one of my theology professors, Father Martin Nowicki, made a comment that I've never forgotten. He said, for every strength that you admire in a person, there is a corresponding weakness that you will have to tolerate. Look at the strengths that God has given us as humans. People with a multitude of gifts in science, medicine, art, engineering, and so many other fields have shared their gifts to improve the quality of life for everyone since the human race began. They didn't do good for their fellow men just to ensure survival like bees do. They strove to better the human condition because we are capable of loving others, even strangers, selflessly. The corresponding weakness to that selfless drive to improve life for everyone is that we have the ability to choose destruction, harm, and selfishness, And some people make that choice. That's why we need laws and bees don't. One of the beauties of Judaism is that our religion has a social conscience. God not only tells us how he expects us to behave, he tells us how he expects us to treat other people. It isn't enough to be a bee and get along with others so we will all survive. We are to give of ourselves and our means so that we can all progress and enjoy the best possible life, not simply the best possible survival. It's obvious that none of us here have chosen an evil or a destructive path through life, even though we were free to do so. But we have another choice that confronts us every time we make a decision. Are we going to be a bee and do just what we need to do in order to survive and avoid conflict, or are we going to be fully alive, vibrant, and contributing human beings? Don't be a bee and settle for survival with an absence of pain. Choose life. Be a reflection of everything that God gave us that makes us more than a cooperative insect. And help me convince God that just this one time, I'm right and the Dalai Lama is wrong.
Very good.